Hi, Scott with FDJtool.com. And sometimes when you have your flex shaft machine, you're going to need to perform a little bit of maintenance, and I wanted to show you a couple of things that you can do to keep your shaft nice and running smoothly. First thing you do before doing any maintenance is to unplug your machine and to take off the handpiece. I've laid my motor down here so I have easy access to it. You're going to need a few things to get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to re-grease our shaft. So to do that, we're going to need a rag. We're going to need, obviously, some shaft grease. And depending on the kind of motor you have, you may need either a small screwdriver or an Allen wrench. In the case with this machine, we're going to need an Allen wrench, but if this were a small screw, we'd use a screwdriver. So we're going to remove our shaft, or excuse me, we're going to use our sheath from our motor connector. So I'll get the right size Allen wrench out here. I'm going to insert it into this little hole there on our motor connector. And just loosen that. Don't have to take it out, just need to loosen it so that our sheath comes free. And we're going to slide that down completely off of our shaft. Set that aside. And we're going to take our rag and we're going to clean off any old grease off of our machine. Now, when doing this, you should probably re-grease your shaft every 40 hours or so of use or so. And nice and clean here. Then we take our flex shaft grease and we're going to apply a very thin coating along the length of our shaft. You don't want to apply too much grease, you want to apply just a little bit, maybe a millimeter or two of thickness. And we're going to apply it all along the shaft. I'm going to do it from the top all the way down to maybe 6 or 8 inches from the end here. Okay. About there. There we go. Okay. Now the next step is just to replace our sheath. And we'll insert the tip of the shaft into there and just slowly snake its way back up. Slide right up. One second. It's a little flexible, isn't it? And you're going to insert it back into the motor connector. Now, when inserting it, several machines have different methods in order to insert this particular sheath. Excuse me. This one has a little step that's built into the sheath, so that it butts up right against your motor connector, and that's great because on the other end you want your shaft to extend from the sheath just about 3/4 of an inch or so. I've used the tip of my thumb as approximately 3/4 of an inch, so I can have a pretty good idea that it's poking out the right amount. If it's in too little or sticking out too far, it won't make good connection to your handpiece, and you're going to have trouble with the handpiece spinning or staying connected. So if that's ever the case, you can always use this method to adjust how far your sheath fits into the motor connector. This one's nice because it's got a stop right there, but other motors might not, so that's a good rule of thumb. So when you've got it set into the right place, take either your screwdriver or your Allen wrench and tighten the set screw back up, and you're done. Now at some point you will have to replace the shaft in your flex shaft machine. It's a part that needs to be replaced due to common wear and tear, and it's quite simple to do. Instead of removing the sheath from our motor connector as we did to re-grease our shaft, we're going to remove the motor connector completely from the motor itself. And to do that, you're going to need a 1-inch crescent wrench that we apply here. And this is a left-handed thread, so instead of right to tight, it's right to loose. Once it's loosened, just simply twist it off by hand. The whole sheath will twist with it and be removed, exposing your shaft. Now to remove the shaft, you're going to need either a small screwdriver or Allen wrench depending on the unit. This particular one requires just a small screwdriver, so we're going to loosen the set screw just a little bit so that we can slide it off the drive shaft of our motor. Now when replacing the shaft, just do exactly the opposite. You're going to slide the end back onto the drive shaft of the motor. There is a small flat spot on this drive shaft, and that's what you want to line up with the set screw of your flexible shaft. That's what holds it in place. So we're going to line that up, slide that on there. Again, tighten the set screw down. It's nice and snug. Okay, and then we just reattach our motor connector with sheath already on it. Snake it on. There we go. And tighten to the left. There we go. Use the wrench to give it one last quick tighten. And to make sure that our sheath is attached just to be on the safe side. And our flex shaft is going to be ready to use. Now, of course, when changing your flexible shaft, you always want to make sure to regrease it as well. And when you do regrease your flex shaft, you have to make sure to distribute the grease evenly throughout the shaft and to get rid of any excess. And to do that, you simply hang up your motor, of course without the handpiece, and just hang it so that it's over the side of your bench. Perhaps you put a trash can or other receptacle underneath to catch any excess grease. And you're going to run the motor for a few minutes so that you can distribute the grease nice and evenly and any excess will drip out of there. Because you don't want excess grease getting into your handpiece because that can cause all kinds of problems. So there you go. 2 very simple procedures of maintenance that can keep your flex shaft running for years and years.